You could be amazing, you could turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You could be the outcast, or be the backlash to somebody's lack of love. Or you could start speaking up. Nothing's gonna hurt you the way the words do when they settle beneath your skin. Kept on the inside and no sunlight, sometimes a shadow wins. But I wonder what would happen if you say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. Everybody's been there, everybody's been stared down by the enemy. Falling for the fear and don't just disappear and bow down to the mighty. Don't run, stop holding your tongue. Maybe there's a way out of the cage where you live. Maybe one of these days you can let the light in. Show me how big your brave is. Say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. And since your history of silence won't do you any good, did you think it would? Let your words be anything but empty. Why don't you tell them the truth? Say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. I just wanna see you, I just wanna see you, just wanna see you, I wanna see you be brave. Thank you.
That is Leah Giordano, an amazing find. I tell you, she will be famous. It's a matter of time. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. This is an incredibly momentous night for many of us here, and we're looking forward to sharing our stories with you and talking to you about mental illness and what it looks like to be somebody who lives with mental illness. So this would be the time you would expect me to ask you to take out your cell phone and turn it off. I do want you to take out your cell phone. Make sure it's on silent, but do not turn it off. We want you to tweet and share about this on Facebook, on any social media you have. The more people we can reach with what's happening tonight, the better impact we'll have. So thank you for being a part of that. Also, a couple little housekeeping things. You'll see inside of your program a single double-sided sheet. That is a survey. There is a pre-show survey and a post-show survey. We would like for you to please fill out that first side now before the show begins, and then at the end of the night, fill out that second side, and you can drop it. There's a basket right by the front door. One of our volunteers will be collecting those from you as they exit. And lastly, I need to thank some of our sponsors. We have an incredible group of people in the community who have decided to stand behind us and to support our mission, and we could not do this without them. So I want to thank them. First, our national sponsor, Alkermes, who sponsors all our shows across the nation. Then also we want to thank our gold sponsors. We have Behavioral Healthcare Incorporated, West Pines Behavioral Healthcare, Three Peaks Counseling, and then our silver sponsor, the Medical Center of Aurora. So please feel free to hang around for a little bit after the show, meet the cast, take pictures, fill out a brave note. We want to know how you guys are being brave since we're going to stand up here and lay it all out. We want to thank Mix 100 for putting us out on all 4 of their radio stations, sharing with the community around us about the show. And then we want to thank Eugene Ebner, who helped us early on to promote the concept and get people in the door for auditions. All right, and finally, I'd like to thank the production team who spent countless hours along with me, losing sleep and stressing out over putting the show together and all the teeny tiny moving details. So I'd like to thank Kat Atwell, Shawna Urbanski, and Katarina Smolka.
All right. To heal is to touch with love that which we previously touched with fear. Stephen Levine. Tonight is about healing. Tonight is about addressing the fear so many of us carry, hidden beneath smiles and cliches, fear of others and fear of ourselves. Given that 1 in 4 people struggle with mental illness, each of you is sitting within the arm's reach of someone who has or may still be fighting a daily war you know nothing about. Tonight, we give the statistics faces and names. We confront that fear, and tonight, we heal. For over 20 years, my own brain has been my battleground. I have been the sole warrior against eating disorders, generalized anxiety, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and major depressive disorder. I have been wounded so badly that I have lain on my deathbed, been told goodbye by both of my parents, and looked my own mortality straight in the eye. I am here today because and only because key people in my life chose to sit down with their fear and get curious. It wasn't about saying the right thing, knowing the perfect resource, or having the ideal solution. It was so much more simple than that. They asked questions. They paused long enough to hear the answers. They loved me. They saw my illness as separate, and then they healed. And together, we healed. Tonight, we address the stigma that so often creates an us versus them mentality in our society. The stigma that villainizes everyday people who simply have an illness like any other. Disease or is a dysfunction in an organ. Mental illness is a dysfunction of the brain, perhaps our most important organ. To those of you suffering and those of you who love someone who is suffering, do not give up. Remember the faces and the stories of those that you meet tonight and know that there is hope. There is always hope.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. This is fantastic. Not that anybody on stage is nervous, because they're not at all. I just want to start, and this is kind of weird, just having you guys all applaud and send love this way, because there are some people who are... See? See, you guys are already supportive, so this is fine. My name is Kat, and I will be serving as your host and MC for the evening. So I have the honor of introducing all of these kick-ass people behind me. We're going to start with Brenda Steele. She is fantastic and has lived her entire life up to this point doing something other than advocating for mental illness. However, she's coming out tonight to share her story. She is beautiful and creative and a chef and makes delicious foods, and she has beautiful words that I can't wait to have her share with you. So please give a round of applause for Brenda.
Hard to be the opener. Okay. My name is Brenda Steele. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder over 20 years ago. At the age of 15, a doctor who I'm sure thought was doing me a favor told me that since I had a family history of severe mental illness, my father being both bipolar and schizophrenic, and having killed himself when I was 12, that likely I would need to be medicated for the rest of my life, and at best I could hope for base functionality. If I was lucky, I wouldn't develop schizophrenia like my father. And so the shame began. 12 years later, at the age of 27, tired after years of ineffective psychiatric pharmaceutical treatment, recreational drug abuse, and self-medication, I was tired of hiding, tired of the enormous self-hatred that I felt. I made what I believed was a very calm and rational choice to take my own life. I was hopeless, I was tired of fighting, and I was tired of the shame. I was tired of the tremors that caused my hands to shake like an elderly woman, tired of the state of constant confusion my 7 prescribed medications caused inside my fragile head. Without any real relief from my searing depression that could sometimes last up to 16 months, suicidal ideation clouding a very large portion of that time, I was done. The truth is, I didn't want to get better anymore, because behind better was just another fall into darkness. My skin felt thin and weathered and 1,000 years old. I was tired of feeling an overwhelming feeling of grief that came with the knowledge that yet another cycle was coming on, and there really was nothing I could do to prevent that darkness. I could feel it encroaching, and I felt alone. I felt like there is no one that could understand. And it's difficult when you're experiencing depression to describe it to people, but I'm going to do my best here to give you a visual representation. Envision being on a beach. Close your eyes if you can. It's beautiful outside. You hear the seagulls squawking. In the distance, children laugh. They're playing in the sand. You're happy. You feel the warmth of the sand on your toes. You wiggle them in the ground. You can feel the lapping of the water. But before you know it, something has shifted in the weather. The birds are flying inland. The people on the beach have all disappeared. The water is slowly leaching away from you out to sea. Something has changed. A shift in the energy all around. You feel it. You want to run to higher ground. You feel it. You look down and you see that your feet are caught in the sand. You can't move. You tug and you pull and you fight and you start screaming for help, but everyone is gone and you are utterly alone. In the distance, far off, you see it coming towards you, and it's a wall of water, and you can see it out there coming. The fear wells up inside you as it edges closer. You bear down. You can feel its energy sucking the oxygen out of the space around you. And the light of the sun is blocked in the sky. Now you surrender. And it comes, and it slams into your body, and you have zero control. You can't see anything. You're lost in the darkness. Up and down, they're the same. There's no air here. There's no light here, and you pray for surface just to see a little glimmer of light, but there's nothing. You're tossed, you're turned, you are bloody, you're broken, and you think to yourself, I think this is it. This is the end. And in a little way, it's kind of a relief. This is not an exaggeration. Exhausting does not begin to describe what it feels like. So after cycling down for the 10th time with no real relief from my illness, a slew of severely debilitating side effects from my medication, I made peace with myself. I could hope for nothing more than this. It was as good as it was going to get, and I was just tired and really done. I chased a bottle of Ambien with as many Tylenol PM as I could get my hands on and shove in my mouth. I guzzled a bottle of red wine, and I said goodbye to the world like that. I thought it was the end, and to be honest with you, I thought I was ready. What I realize now is that I'm lucky enough to say that that was my beginning. Yes, I was physically born May 12th, 1979, but I was spiritually reborn out of this horrible experience. My life started in a very real way in that moment. By some miracle of chemical coincidence, my stomach refused to tolerate these drugs. I was found in time, I was rushed to the hospital, and I won't lie to you, it has not been an easy road out. It took me a full 10 years after my suicide attempt to release myself from the shame and the stigma of my illness. That stigma was buried so deep in my psyche. It still is. It was so deep I didn't even comprehend it. Was it weird that I hid my bouts of depression from family members, from friends, from employers? For 6-month periods, I would disappear off the map for an extended trip. I was smart, but I couldn't quite hold down a long-term job like everyone else. I made up stories to hide the truth. The lies were part of the fabric of who I have always known myself to be, and I didn't really see it as shame. The stigma was invisible and, worst of all, self-imposed as much as by society at large. I never understood why it took me so long to come clean with myself, to find a path to becoming a mental health advocate, to work with other people who share the same pain that I do. But I understand it now. I wasn't ready. I needed to lie to myself. I needed to lie to others. I needed to see what real stigma looks like out there. With every horrible, beautiful experience, I would never have the compassion and empathy that I carry with me now, truly as my sword and shield of badass strength. It is empathy and compassion that empower me to help others dealing with the same sense of loneliness and isolation that I carried with me for so many years. 20 years is a very long time to live in denial. But those years are my greatest asset now. My gift to myself and to others. I am a survivor. I survived a doctor's diagnosis at age 15 that told me I would likely be medicated for the rest of my life. I would probably continue to deteriorate over time, and if I was lucky, I wouldn't develop schizophrenia severely like my father. At age 15, a doctor told me this. I hated him for a long time, but now I'm grateful to say that I proved his ass wrong. Dead wrong. I survived pharmaceutical addiction, self-hatred, self-loathing, social ostracization, and shame. I survived for 2 weeks at San Francisco General Hospital psych ward. God damn it, I can do anything. Today, I self-disclose my condition on this stage publicly for the first time. I'm scared, but I'll be brave. Whenever questioned what I do for work and why I do it, I will speak the truth. I recently became a certified peer support worker, and I have made it my life's mission now to help people battling for mental wellness and fighting the demons of suicidal ideation. I speak my truth. I survived suicide. I think about death, and I think about dying sometimes. And that's part of my reality, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. Sometimes that makes people feel strange to be so open with the most taboo subject known to man, our own mortality. But a moment's discomfort on my part is nothing compared to the chance that I have to reach out to a lonely, isolated soul who feels that there is no one that they can discuss such darkness with. I am ready now. I get it, why it took so long, I really do. I'm ready for the road ahead, and I so look forward to proudly being a part of a new vision for the mental health community in this country and the greater world at large. Shame, you come here no more. I think the timing is right now in our society. We are all ready to get real and to stop hiding. And we all know that timing is everything.
Okay, we're good here. That was wonderful. Excuse me for a moment. Couple things. If you hear something that really resonates with you and you want to make noise and in support or agreement or any of that, I would encourage you to do so because it reminds everybody how human we all are. So there's no need to kind of like hold it in. And if you need to hold somebody's hand, that's great. And if you need to cry, by all means, I'm sure I will be at some point. Also, with the social media, I meant to bring this up earlier. Yes, if you are on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, hashtag live brave. So that way we can see what you've written and we can all share our stories and get it out everywhere. So I blather. The next presenter that we have is a beautifully strong woman that I look up to because I want to have her strength and her artistry and her confidence. She's going to be doing a poetry piece called Addiction. This is Angela Nicole.
Most nights are spent above cloud 9 with my best friend. His name is Addiction, and I tell him that I'm a poet. So in the back of his mind, he pictures berets, quaint cafes where snaps echo off four corners of loveliness. He pictures me on stage under fluorescent lights that couldn't possibly outshine my beauty, microphone close to my lips like he used to be, strumming his pain with my fingers and singing his life with my words, killing him softly because he likes it nice and slow. So every word I throw is like a dagger in his heart because I've already conquered him. So this poem is for the guy who snorts lines longer than the notebook pages I write my poetry on because the natural high just won't suffice. For the ones that shovel lies so often, then knee deep in their own grave with no intention on stopping, like they're in a race to meet the devil lurking around and thinking they're carefully constructed of banana peels and mopping glow, just knowing you'll fall for their type. So this is for rape victims. The girl with one by the hand, one in the stroller, and one on the way. For the girlfriend that leaves the club early because apparently dancing with face to fist and palms to vocal cords rock her body more than any 808 could. So she'd hurried home like she had a fetish for disaster. And this is for addiction, liquor stores, Starbucks, Planned Parenthoods on every corner. But this is really for interventions and relapse. Bottom of the barrel scrapers with no place to go but up. For the ones that inhale because they inhale, and who am I to tell them that they're not? And this is for the little boy that eats cereal with a fork because all the spoons are bent when your heart is colder than the porcelain you make daily entries to like a journal. And this is for irony, like coffee pots in the back of AA meetings. But most importantly, this poem is for sober days. See, I grew tired of cleaning, only to come across crumpled love letters to Captain Morgan, stumbling over red cups bearing reflections of my soul. It's watering down my dreams, and I've been trying to get as high as my hopes. Now most nights are spent above cloud 9 with my best friend. His name is Addiction, and I tell him I'm a poet. So in the back of his mind, he pictures berets, quaint cafes where snaps echo off four corners of loveliness. He pictures me on stage, under fluorescent lights that couldn't possibly outshine my beauty, microphone close to my lips like he used to be, strumming his pain with my fingers and singing his life with my words, killing him softly because he likes it nice and slow.
it makes me remember, I'm like, I'm only breathing from here right now. Damn. So our next performer is Sam Hosdulik. And she actually performed in our first This Is My Brave show back in May and has become a really phenomenal friend of mine. She's hysterical. She has a huge heart. She can kind of play music okay. And she actually wrote this song specifically for our show, which really kicks ass. Did we decide on a title? We did, didn't we?
This one.
Yeah.
What?
Did we decide on a title? I can use the title you wanted me to use.
No,
Okay.
no.
It was a four-letter
This song is
word.
called Cat Atwell.
All right.
Hi guys, I'm Sam. I have OCD. So what that really means, if you don't know, is that my house is really clean. Is this on? Can you guys hear it? Oh, it's this? Check it out, it's unplugged, y'all. I'm a musician, I swear. I'm really good at this. Okay. This song is called Cat Atwell. Spending all these restless nights, wishing you weren't in my life. How am I supposed to love if I can't give enough? I try to do it on my own, just wound up broken and alone. It feels like ripping skin from bone, and I don't know which way to go. 'Cause I'm staring at a blank page, trying to find the right words to say. It's like breathing underwater, yeah, my skin is getting hotter, but I don't suffocate. I'm drowning in regret and I can't get no rest. This just ain't for me. Why does life feel like a race? I'm just trying to keep my pace and breathe, yeah. And you know that I tried to breathe, yeah. You know, am I really wasting time trying to figure out my life? There's mirrors on every side, showing me my flaws each night. I wish that I could turn it off and make all of the anger stop. But honestly, I'm not that strong. I'll never learn to walk it off. 'Cause I'm staring at a blank page, trying to find the right words to say. It's like breathing underwater, yeah, my skin is getting hotter, but I don't suffocate. I'm drowning in regret and I can't get no rest. This just ain't for me. Why does life feel like a race? I'm just trying to keep my pace and breathe, yeah. You know that I tried to breathe, yeah. You know. 'Cause I'm staring at a blank page, trying to find the right words to say. It's like breathing underwater, yeah, my skin is getting hotter, but I don't suffocate. I'm drowning in regret and I can't get no rest. This it just ain't for me. Why does life feel like a race? I'm just trying to keep my pace and breathe. No, well, am I really wasting time trying to figure out my life?
Damn, Kat Atwell sounded good. That was fantastic. The next person who's going to be coming up, I think a couple of you might know her. Her name is Stacy Schaefer. So like two, yeah, okay. Stacy, when she first shared her story with us during auditions, stole my breath. And there are some stories that just resonate with you in such a way that I know I am never, ever going to forget Stacy and her beautiful heart and what she has conquered. She is beautiful and she is courageous. And she's going to kick so much ass on stage right now. So please give Stacy a very, very warm round of applause. Her piece is titled, "You're Welcome."
One of the most telling pictures of me as a little girl is when I had a group counseling session for my Care Bears. And I mean, other than Grumpy Bear, for obvious reasons, I remember group being a success. Flashing forward several decades later, I actually became a licensed children's therapist to other adorable, smaller creatures who are just louder and messier and use way more glitter glue. I've built a counseling practice from the ground up, and I usually tell new families that my office is essentially a therapeutic Disneyland. On good days, I can feel so proud of creating exactly what I dreamt of in grad school. PTSD whispers, if they only knew. So here's my story, because I am tired of that taunting voice. Tired of not just saying the words out loud, and tired of not owning my life experiences and therefore my own power. When I was 12 years old, my mom was diagnosed with terminal breast cancer, and in misguided wisdom, thought it would be a good idea for me to have a therapeutic boarding school experience so I wouldn't have to deal with her illness and subsequent issues. My only crime was having an attitude, a 12-year-old one. In the middle of the night, she and my stepdad organized a paid kidnapping, and I was in the car in my sleep shorts without my glasses for the drive, with my hands under the seatbelts and driven from Las Vegas to Utah. What my parents didn't know was that the place would one day have so many lawsuits that a lawyer at a firm's sole responsibility was to deal with the carnage from this horrible place. The center was really a cleverly disguised pyramid scheme ran by pedophiles and sadists. I was raped and beaten several times a day, every single day, for exactly 360 days. It was 5 years ago that I first started talking about that year, and it's been brutal. I finished a master's degree in counseling without uttering a word of my experience to a single soul for 20 years. Side note, not super wise. It's not like I forgot, but I shoved it down so deep in a genuine belief that that was then and this is now, and I am fine now, thank you very much. I built a whole life on achievements, education, friendships, and service. I remember taking a trauma, grief, and loss class, and I was so disconnected from my own story that it didn't even dawn on me to feel anything personally. I moved to Colorado in 2009 primarily to be a part of an amazing faith community called The Refuge, who have become my actual family. On paper, I'm technically orphaned, but in reality, I've been adopted into a new family. I had plans at the refuge to be a listener and a healer, and a superwoman in support of a community that values authenticity and transparency. Apparently, though, it's more of a model of we all give, we all receive. Hashtag plot twist. It was at a small dinner party on our leadership team where we were laughing and joking about the trouble we had gotten into as kids. Someone mentioned a brief stint in juvie, someone else said something about a day in jail for a protest, and I said, completely unguarded and without thinking, yeah, I was locked up for 360 days when I was a kid. Heads slowly turned to look at me. Pandora's box was now officially opened. Out came the gushing of all the contents and pain, and it knocked the wind out of me. Oh, Pandora's box, the gift that keeps on giving. With that finally acknowledged year of hell came all the things. PTSD impacted every aspect of my life, and I was having a hard time being triggered by simply life in general. And as those of you who've done your own work know, the stuff had no intention of going back in the box. All of the memories bombarded me day in and day out. I was triggered by the mention of 8th grade because I missed the entire year, but people were told I ran away. Good times. Feeling trapped would send me into a panic. Like if I were at the drive-thru at my bank and someone did something outrageous, like pull in behind me, or talk with a hint of anger, or do one of a million mannerisms that reminded me of my experience, it would send me into deep breath panic mode. I was scared of most males I encountered, which is unfortunate considering the whole statistical count of the male-female makeup of the world. I started my own therapy as a client. Hats off to therapists of therapists. I was diagnosed with PTSD and major depressive disorder, and I also saw a psychiatrist and started medications that I absolutely believe saved my life. In the meantime, I had to hold on in that horrible in-between space of despair and weak hope that medication can help you breathe on your own again. My beautiful and faithful golden retriever Rusty also died that year after a 2-week diagnosis, and I was spiraling down fast. One of my dearest friends bought me a golden puppy 11 days later. Aw, right? Does Zoe not look like she wishes there were a mental status exam prior to adoption? I mean, really. Zoe saved my life due to making me responsible for hers, and for that I'm incredibly grateful. When I started rapidly slipping down the depression slide, it was really dark, and it did not appear that there was a safe exit lane. Zoe was there when I woke up screaming in terror night after night. She thought it was a cue to pee, though, so there's that. Sleep was not at all a relief, but rather a mandatory timed event to be endured. Paralysis was often a theme, and my mom, who died of breast cancer when I was 22, often made an appearance as a passive witness to the assaults. So I have a love-hate relationship with sleep, and it absolutely 100% contributes to my depression. It's been explained to me that since sleep deprivation was used as a punishment in my trauma, not getting the right amount for me has a layered impact. Because one cannot predict the presence of nightmares, it can make the evenings rough. Sometimes I don't have the energy to fight to stay sleeping and calculate the cost of just not. I felt like I was in a dark ocean with a ball and chain, and I just forgot how to swim. My body was going numb anyways, and I just couldn't seem to make myself care very much about the seaweeds ominously wrapping around my ankles. I just wanted to stop fighting the darkness. It's the reliving that's the worst. PTSD whispers, I'm going to haunt you. Always. When I'm triggered, all the memories come flooding, and really without much warning. I feel haunted. I want to yell at my friends. This is why I am not worth the hassle. I told you I'm never getting better, and you had the audacity to not believe me. My brain whispers to me that the best thing that you can do most noble act of love is to disappear and let them off the hook. I had nightmares which turned into daydreams, which turned into fantasies, which turned into plans about leaving the world. I had vivid dreams of my funeral where they're all wearing purple because they pay attention. And I'm walking up as a departed being to each of my dear friends, saying to them one by one, "You're welcome. Do you not see that I gave you the biggest gift I could? That I get that my pain outweighs any resource. So I held up my white flag so you did not have to. You're welcome. I'm so sorry you're sad, but what is that compared to a life of being my support?" All of the precious kids in my personal life were there too. And I knelt down and whispered to them one by one, "Hey, sweetie, you might not understand right now, but trust me, you're welcome." I loved them so much that I didn't want to be the one who was their role model any longer. The position is now open to someone who's really worthy of your admiration. You're welcome in advance. But nobody ever thanks me. Except in the sane moments when I think they would be sad. And yet, honest to God, I feel like I would be doing them a favor. They say they love me, they need me, they support me. There's hope beyond this. I want to believe them. I want to believe them. But sometimes it feels like there's a bouncer who's outside the entrance to my frontal lobe. Nope. What if I was wrong, though? There are no do-overs in completed suicides. It was Christmas of 2011, and I could not force myself to go celebrate the holidays with my family. Could not do it. Literally, I only got out of bed to take Zoe outside, and I thought maybe nobody would notice my absence. I never claimed depression made me smarter, so... I started to truly badly tank the last few days of 2011, and I kept getting stuck in a mental loop about how I didn't want to start another year with this pain. The agony I felt was so great that I wanted to end it all before 2012. I had always been excited at the start of a fresh new year, but then it spoke to me of a continuation of a pain cycle that I wanted to finally end. You're not worth fighting for, I hear in my own voice, the hissing of the enemy within. I finally said that message out loud to a trusted friend, what was playing out in my head, because I was seriously afraid of the power of my own brain. I made a promise to stay safe, and because of that whole integrity thing, honored it. Had I not made that connection that night, I would have undoubtedly taken my life. However, I turned off my phone to sleep and used an appropriate dosage of Tylenol PM to knock myself out fast. When I woke up, there was a devastating message from my adopted mom, who clearly had extreme panic in her voice about my well-being. I mean, it was really late in the afternoon and I was still asleep. I realized I couldn't bear to put my people through agony like that any longer. Something had to shift, and I got serious about my own recovery. If not for me, for my people. I practiced breathing. I started kickboxing. I forced myself to show up when I really wanted to hide. I started talking about memories with trusted friends and stopped blocking what I needed to feel. Because while I was entirely out of hope for me, I borrowed some from my dear friends who were not willing to let me stay in the dark. Let it be no mistake that it is because of my people that I chose to stay alive longer. Our allies, while absolutely not being responsible for anyone's life, can help breathe renewed hope when it is elusive. What has given me the emotional oxygen to carry on? I could not have better friends. One of my best friends, Anne, recently cut out the hard parts of her People magazine with J.C. Dugard's story so I could read it if I wanted without triggers. Friends pay for counseling, freaking dog. They warn me about books or movies with sexual violence or just something I shouldn't see theme, which feels so incredibly loving and protective to me. It helps me feel safe. Here's the thing. When it gets dark, scary, and hopeless in my head, I still have suicidal thoughts. When I get into a dark place, even to this day, my brain starts plotting a way out of this world. I tell myself that my friends would be better off, and since they simply won't give up on me, I will gracefully exit so they can carry on without me. But in reminding myself of truth, I know now that my life matters. After showing up time and time and time again in therapy, I can now clearly see that it isn't a noble act of love to leave. Now my emotional energy transforms from strategically planning the end of my life into deep gratitude for my amazing friends for loving me so damn well, and also for the gift of the life I now lead. I've learned to say, I'm in a really, really dark place, but I need you to know that I'm safe. One of my dearest friends, Kathy, told me that I would likely always struggle with suicidal ideation, and it was a matter of not being so mad at myself that it returned. To ride the wave as the roll doesn't last forever. I'm beginning to believe she's right. My hope is that through shared experience, I can help at least one person feel less alone and more able to sincerely ask for help without the ridiculous yet pervasive stigma attached. That hearing a mental health professional say out loud, sometimes suicide feels like the only realistic exit sign, is freeing in a way to be able to get help before it's too late. I hope that at the actual end of my life, God will say, Stacy, right? And I'll pretend to not be offended. But then God says, thanks for not giving up your life before more than half the chapters were through. You would have missed out on so much beauty, so much hope, so much joy. Your people would truly grieve, and it would be so unfortunate to lose you so soon. Your name means resurrection, and your life's journey attests to that truth. Thank you for fighting so others may live. And I'll say, no problem. And hey, you're welcome.
So I'm a little emotional right now. If you're one of Stacy's friends who's here tonight, would you guys stand up? You guys are awesome. And you are so fortunate to have such an amazing human being in your life as Stacy. Damn it. No more pictures. All right, so next, you guys. If she had yarn on stage, she would have already knit and or crocheted at least 3 Afghans, 15 hats, maybe some cat toys. We were at a rehearsal last week, and Lauren had told everybody to put things down, and Cassie was like knitting, and she's like, what? I can't. What I really love about Sia is that she has like the perfectly balanced brain with the right brain and the left brain. I am heavily leaning this way. Girl is smart as hell and crafty as hell and has written some absolutely stunning poetry for you. So please, a round of applause for Cassia.
I was challenged to write a poem about depression without using any cliches, which is hard to do. Welcome home. This is the house where everything goes wrong. Alarms to forget to sound. They're distracted, so very much so. The toilet always overflows, gushing everything at the wrong times. Such a mess to clean up. The toaster is on the frets. Too much effort burns the toast. Too little effort produces bread. I would burn it down if I could. The next 3 poems are sonnets. I love sonnets. I feel like they're the best way to express emotions. The rules are rigid. The rules are rigid with rocket science precision, each one carefully placed in my life by demons, causing pinpricks of maladjustment. Marionette crumples when her strings are cut. Left alone, I degrade into the silence I crave. Screams until sobbing replaced by vomiting. Dance on my eggshells to hear the waterfall's sudden impact into the lake. Barbed wire boundaries flung aside by others' indifference. The cold vastness of the universe. To fit the truck puzzle piece into the airplane space. I am wrong, and I cannot correct myself. Fire flames everywhere. People are either good or bad. I am the fire roasting, bringing destruction to those around me. Creation comes from the ashes. I do not love it, because I cannot love. Love is nothing. Screw it. Reach across the chasm for labels. Place each person in a neat little box. My screen burns when they ask me what I am. I miss the days I ran to Yellow Blankie, and it wasn't weird. I didn't know there was a barrier. Apologies mean nothing to me. Shame is a social emotion to get one to behave correct. Guilt is a social emotion to get one to maintain relationships. I speak my emotions. Unless you change your behavior, you don't care. I want to hide, licking my wounds, seeking the animalistic healing from your anger projectiles, leaving me a dull ache. I cannot become a new person, though I try. This last poem is written entirely in couplets. It's inspired by Ocean Vuong's Someday I'll Love Ocean Vuong and Night Sky with Exit Wounds. It's in the tradition of a poet writing for his speaker to show support. Yourself first. You're so quiet, you're almost tomorrow. Ocean Vuong. Remember, you are a former sovereign nation. You have strength others cannot imagine because you need it every day. The social world attacks with so much stimuli, so many more than the five senses overwhelmed. Anger erupts into violent threats, never carried out, burning, buildings down to ashes, mind running faster than the speed of comebacks. I'm not infantile, you stinky butt poop head. Just shut it up, all up. You have gifts, though most aren't recognized by family. Questions questing for the dysfunctional source. Is it what you eat? Have you tried eating differently? Body shaming, fat shaming, telling prepubescent me she's fat. You were fat until the later years of high school. Lazy they tried, but you work so hard, surviving simple tasks. Remember to create. You are a wordsmith, and old beyond your ears. Craft away and make them gifts. Kill them with kindness, yarn and fabric, softness and enticing blues. Save the yellows and purples for yourself. Save yourself. Walk away from hard social situations. Endure. Don't cry. They invade your space. Personal space with hugs, shoving you in closets full of crap, foisting their anxieties onto you. Drop it. Drop them. Walk away without goodbyes. Find your strength in special needs cats. Help them grow. Help yourself grow. You don't see your beauty, but you have so much more than the outer appearance of the prison of your mind. Soft bluey blankets, hats hidden within a basket weave. Share your empowering wick. Jokes flowing over their head. Laugh louder. You send out good thoughts, wanting the best for those you don't know. Learn to wish goodness on those you do. Learn to find acceptance. You may never love, emotions locked up in autism. Find somebody willing to hand over his heart, embrace his life and your own. Look to the future, for there you may thrive. Today you survive, and that is enough.
So I'm kind of a touchy-feely person, and before the show I'm like, if anybody needs hugs, come at me. And Cassie was like, can I drop kick you off the stage? Because that's how she expresses herself. I said no, but in my mind I said yes. So our next musician this evening, his name is Brendan Parks. He's right behind me. When I first met him, he seemed very quiet, and I like to think that I can read people. I cannot. And you know when people like totally catch you off guard with their sense of humor, like you aren't, you know, it's not coming, and then it just knocks you over? Strap in, y'all, because he's brilliant, and the words that he's written are equally brilliant, and I can't wait for you to hear his song that I've forgotten the title of.
I guess.
I guess.
Can you ask the other guitar? Okay. So I have two reoccurring dreams in my life. The first one is I get beat up by Meghan Trainor in the back of a Target. And the second one is I'm at a Jersey diner with punk rock legend Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day, Nobel Peace Prize winner Bob Dylan, and rock legend Bruce Springsteen. And we're all talking about music and the things that we've dealt with. Billy Joe Armstrong says, "When I was paranoid, I wrote Basket Case." And that is a story of what you don't say to people who are suffering from mental illness. Bob Dylan says, "I was depressed, and I wrote songs that invoked social change and has started revolutions." Bruce Springsteen said, "I was depressed and suicidal, and I wrote songs of redemption." Then I go, "I've suffered with depression, and I stay in bed for hours and don't eat." So I hope this makes up for it. The doctor came in and diagnosed me. That's probably why I feel like I got more problems than Jay-Z. My friends, they have full-time jobs and fiancés. I've got a part-time slot and I haven't found my Beyonce. I guess always try my best. I guess I'm depressed, and my confidence is being taunted, and I cannot work it sexy flaunted. My imagination is my arch enemy. My imaginary friend was a big, mean bully. I don't know what that says about me, but it's 100% true. My mom will tell you the story. I always try my best. I guess I'm depressed, and my confidence is being taunted, and I cannot sexy flaunt it. How did Dylan and Springsteen use this as a gift? Maybe my music can help people get that lift, but me, I can't make that permanent shift. I cannot shake this off. I am not Taylor Swift. I always try my best. I guess I'm depressed, and my confidence is being taunted, and I cannot work it sexy flaunted. I guess I'm depressed. I guess I'm depressed. I guess I'm depressed. Thanks.
I'm sorry, but he's freaking hysterical. Right? And it caught you off guard. It wasn't just me, right? It's freaking brilliant. You got it. Okay. The next person coming up doesn't have many hobbies, has not lived a creative life, no stories to tell, obviously very boring. No. Orlinda has done more things and taken more chances and just really put herself out there artistically, athletically, and I mean, bravely tonight, for sure. This is Orlinda Marquez. And yeah, right? We love her. And tonight she's going to be telling her story titled, Who'da Thunk It? Okay, hey, so I'm wearing tights, which is really a big investment for all of you. Like, they're strapped in there. And when I was getting dressed, one of the people was like, if we don't see you in 10 minutes, we're sending help to the bathroom, which was legitimate, and I appreciated the care offered to me by my friends. Hey, Orlinda's ready to talk, so who'd have thunk it?
Hello. You may think me dressed peculiar for an event such as this. However, from my hat down to my blue suede shoes, you will begin to see why this represents my brain. Growing up in West Denver, I was considered one of the smartest kids in the school. That was probably the least popular thing you could be. My constant friends were my Elvis Presley obsession, my collections, my Olympic and Hollywood fantasies, and my goals, my lofty goals. When I was still in grade school when Congress decided it was time to let women into the military academies. Right there and then, I said, I'm going to the Air Force Academy, and I began my preparation. I purchased a rucksack from the surplus store, and I would load all my books every day, whether I needed them for homework or not, and I'd run that half mile to and from school. Later on in high school, I put another nail in my social coffin by joining JROTC. Well, I was trying to reach my goal. It didn't work out for me to go to the Air Force Academy. After spending my first freshman year at Brown, I took some time off and earned some money and decided to go to the Colorado School of Mines. At School of Mines, I studied engineering geophysics, and I also started Army ROTC, and when I graduated in '87, I was commissioned into the U.S. Army and served my time in the Army Corps of Engineers. I thought, thank you. I thought that going to a school which at that time the ratio of men to co-eds, as they called us, was 5-to-1. And I knew I'd have to work twice as hard to be considered half as good. And I thought I had prepared myself for my career that I'd been looking forward to for most of my life at this point. I was in for a big shock. It wasn't 5-to-1, it was 36-to-1. I was put in charge of a platoon of 36 men who were bent not to work for a woman. Sexual harassment was a constant. And when a sexual assault happened and eventually I reported it, I was told, "You're just trying to ruin another good NCO." PTSD that I did not know I had set in. I knew I was depressed, but I didn't know anything else. I soon dropped out of medical school. About a month later, I couldn't concentrate. The focus was totally gone. However, I tried to trudge on. I still had my friends, and my fantasies taunted me like it was cruel as I gained more and more weight, becoming what they told me I was when they flagged me for being overweight. Eventually, I went through 31 jobs in the next 12 years before I was diagnosed. And I want to do a little aside here. I had a lot of suicidal ideation. And right now there are 22 veterans a day taking their own lives. And from my experience, I think it's because of a lack of purpose, a lack of esteem. Because I couldn't find no purpose for me. I went through engineering school because I had the ability and I could, so I thought I should, but I didn't have a passion for it. And since I didn't have a passion, going through all these jobs, I couldn't find purpose. Until 2007, when I started doing performing arts as recreation, therapeutic recreation. And I realized I had a passion. Yeah, and I helped her. Yeah. Henry's, yeah, insecurity. Yeah, think Linus. Yeah, but her don't let me drive. Well, you can't reach the pedals and you don't have a driver's license. Yes, I do. I have a license. It's right here. It's a license tag, Henry. No, it's a license. But Henry, a license, driver's license has your face on it. But they don't need my face because it's right here. Okay, that's enough, Henry. Anyway, it became an outlet, and everyone Henry meets would smile. Most everyone. A few people were a little afraid, but most everyone he meets, he brings them a smile, and also he helps me with my anxiety and whatnot. By 2011, I was also, I had gastric bypass as a tool to lose the weight, and I was finally able to start doing sports again. So my fantasies that I thought were always a fantasy started to be my passion. And I thought, I can help out in rec therapy, and I started the process to volunteer. And by 2011, my passion was becoming a purpose. But also in 2011, another veteran decided he needed to be everywhere I was. And it started to get really creepy. He started stalking me. And then I was told, and then all my group therapies, he suddenly needed. I ended up getting a permanent restraining order against this man as a stalker, but the VA said he's a veteran. We can't refuse him treatment, and it's your choice not to share a space with him. So after fighting this for 3 years, I finally moved about 100 miles away. And all the stress of this caused my lupus to flare up, and I had been volunteering with adaptive sports, and now I needed to start doing adaptive sports myself. Adaptive Adventures was first. This here is a dragon boat medal. I did a lot of other solo sports, and I've won several medals for those, but I'm finding that the team sports, getting the camaraderie, seems to be even more therapeutic. And for me, about a little less than 3 years ago, something happened. I mean, being a military sexual trauma survivor and then being re-triggered by the stalking, the last thing I wanted to do is be around men, especially military men. But then about 3 years ago, I was introduced to sled hockey. A full contact sport in my second half century of life with a bunch of military men. And I find it so therapeutic. Who'd have thunk it? Sled hockey. Yeah, that's a sled for sled.
Yeah, there it is. Wow. It was a suitcase.
Well, I built a little dolly for it out of an old duffel, so.
I can't get my shoes on half the time. She's done everything.
Yeah.
Is there something on my butt? My butt. My butt is on my butt. This is a great intro. So you guys might also know Stacy Price. I thought there might be a couple people. So Stacy is fantastic and has, again, she's one of those quiet people, and you can just look at her and be like, oh my God, she's so smart. And she really is. And she makes me smile even when I don't want to, which is impressive, because when I pout, my game face is on. And she's a beautiful singer and teacher. Now, isn't Leah your student? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Leah, the one that sang Brave to open our beautiful show, is learning how to do all this from Stacy. Not only that, but she's a kick-ass songwriter and has a song called We Must Go, Go. Thank you.
The anticipation. It's here. Thank you very much. Are we waiting for some kind of magic or a little spark of hope? Is it bleeding heart we're facing, or a mixed bag of dirty jokes? Whatever happened to Tuesday and so slow? Well, life isn't always a cruise. Well, time hasn't frozen and we're no longer golden. Let's ditch this ride and forge our own road. 'Cause I know the future is unclear. We must go, 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 go on despite our fears. It's a face-off moment we've all been needing, a candle burning swiftly against time. We have the heart now to play our part. Now let's kick it. Let's just kick it in overdrive. 'Cause I know the future is unclear. We must go, 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 go on despite our fears. 'Cause if we go, 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 go on despite our fears, then I know, the future will become so clear. When we go, we'll kick our fears.
Thank you.
So the next beautiful lady that is going to be coming up is totally not nervous and put a lot of time and preparation into her audition. And by that I mean we were holding auditions at Blush and Blue, and she happened to come in to see some friends, and they're like, hey, they're holding auditions about something. You should go in. And Kristen said, okay. No joke. There are some people that can just ride the wave and be like, oh, this is where life wants me to be. Let's do this. And she did. And her story is amazing. And look at her. She's right here in the end. And she just emanates light. And she's hysterical and totally not nervous. I told them about my tights being strapped in. So seriously, you're going to be fine. And it's freezing up here. So this is Kristen Poulton. And she's about to tell y'all about gay AA.
201 days ago, I decided at the age of 41 to begin the first day of the rest of my life. I decided to get sober with the help of gay AA. I know they say take a day by day, and I do, but I think that was the day I was born into my authentic self. What a word, authentic. It's so powerful and loaded. I was scared shitless as I walked into that AA meeting, not of the meeting itself, but getting sober part. I've always said I would never trust a sober person. Wow, that's weird, they don't drink. What do they do? The first 30 days went at a moderate pace, some days fast, some days slow. I signed up for a 200-hour yoga teacher training because I had no idea what people did if they were not with friends drinking or doing something and drinking. The controlling alcoholic Kristen had a list, and everything was going to go smoothly in getting me sober. I had a fucking plan and a checkoff list. First, go to gay AA. Second, get addicted to coffee. Third, meet amazing sober people. Fourth, become grateful. And fifth, get the life I've always wanted. The first thing I learned in sobriety is that life happens on life's terms, not on my terms. I was living with my girlfriend at the time. Of course, I met her while I was drinking, living alone for 10 years and being a drunk, and living with someone else and being a drunk really helps in clearing the mind. When we first moved in together, after almost 1 month of dating, the reality of my drinking set in. We would argue about my friends, which eventually led to isolation. I would begin fights about the unpredictability of when she would show up, because oftentimes it would lead to a frantic flight or fright mode of me yelling, dump the wine, she's coming home. My life was out of control and unmanageable. I prayed for Saturday bottomless mimosas, and I would walk the streets of Denver in a blackout. Being sober, I couldn't hide behind the bottle or say fuck it if I don't care, because in 20 minutes I'll be drinking at Park Tav. Within the next 30 days, my little baby dog Rosie Bella passed. She was the light of my life and died in my arms. This is the first time I felt the authentic emotion of loss. I couldn't hide behind the bottle this time as I had when my dear father had passed away. While working towards my 90 days, my family came to visit. I always looked forward to my sister-in-law visiting. Oh, how my sister-in-law and myself would party it up, or at least I would be begging my niece and nephews to play the "Let's nap and be as quiet as we can" the next day. My sister-in-law would also share that she wasn't used to drinking like this. Well, the whole time I'm thinking everyone drinks like this. We never really discussed when they visited that I wasn't ordering my usual wine or vodkas. My sister-in-law asked if it was okay for her and my brother to pick up wine and beer, and I said, of course. That was challenging enough. But then the thing is, they left another significant challenge. A bottle and a quarter red cab on my counter, and 2 Stellas in a can in my fridge. While my family was saying their goodbyes, all I could think of was that wine and that beer. On my way home, I called my sponsor. I told him I was going home, dumping the booze, and then going to yoga and heading to a meeting. I got home, I twisted open those wines, and as I began to pour, a little voice in my head told me to smell that wine. Oh, how I wanted to. But I know my nose and my lips are not far from each other. I dumped the wine, I went to the fridge, cracked open the beers, dumped everything, brought it to recycling, got my ass to a yoga class, and then to a meeting. And close calls don't just happen while you're awake. There's these dreams. It's that same feeling of waking up in the morning thinking, what the fuck did I do last night? That tight feeling in your stomach, your heart racing, the sweat. Did I drink? I ask myself. I've heard these dreams are called free lapses. The dreams don't cost anything, but the feeling of paranoia is one thing that keeps me sober. Other things that keep me sober. My job, my dogs, my dear friends who welcomed me back in their lives, my beautiful, courageous, brutally honest support system, and I believe in the promises. I believe that something great is going to come out of this. I believe in myself. I actually like this, Kristen. I'm tired of the I'm tired of the angry, destructive Kristen. I'm excited to be the woman that I needed when I was a little girl. 201 days ago, I decided at the age of 41 to begin the first day of the rest of my life.
I think this is the first time that Kristen has done it and like finished and not gone, thank you. Even when she didn't want to, she would like, so you, well done. I curtsied for you though. Real quick too, I want to mention this about Kristen. Early on in our rehearsals, I had a friend get alcohol poisoning, and I was the first one to show up at her house. And thank God, I've never struggled with addiction like that. And unbeknownst to me, I had a support system in Kristen, who I barely knew at that time, but I fell apart on in rehearsal. And if it wasn't for her, I don't know if I would have been able to stick with the show. So, thank you. Damn it. On the subject of emotional things, the next gentleman who's going to be coming up here is one of the most beautiful human beings, and he has this quiet confidence about him, and uh-oh, what's happening? Okay, this is Lauren's butt. Sorry, levity. This is Ricardo Bogart, and he is fantastic, and he's going to be sharing some poetry with you. It is going to be a very unique experience, and he speaks definitely directly from his heart, and I am so glad that he's here. He's going to be doing his poem, I Dare Remember. This is Ricardo.
1991, 25 years ago, the onset of my bipolar condition occurred when I was a chemical engineer working for a chemical company, and the particular product that we were making, the name is glycidol, was actually made by a subcontractor. Now, true to my Dominican American roots, I'm going to read the poem first in Spanish, the original, and then I'm going to read it in English so you can understand what I was doing with my hands first. Me atrevo a recordar cuándo acaba la ciencia y el horror comienza. Y el subcontratista amenazó, voy a cambiar el proceso, no importa lo que digan. Tú avisaste a tu jefe del comportamiento extraño de la reacción, pero ninguna ayuda apareció. Y tu memorando fue ignorado en su gaveta, pero aún así, el reactor de acero inoxidable de 2.000 galones explotó en la madrugada de Ohio, un maldito cohete que destrozó edificios, una nube química que quemó y mató al inocente operador. Con la represión devorando lentamente cada una de tus neuronas, tu jefe dijo, tú eres un puro fraude en 2 patas. ¿Cómo te cayó ser despedido? Ver cómo todo lo que tenías se iba por la cuneta. De pronto te convertiste en el testigo crucial y enfrentaste horas y horas de deposiciones con cíclopes en búsqueda de la elusiva verdad en el infierno. Y lenta, pero lentamente, tu conciencia se fue inundando de pesadillas sonámbulas, pensamientos de cruzadas religiosas y poemas de ira hermosa. ¿Recuerdas los temerosos vuelos al Caribe para recuperar las piezas de tu cordura? Tu mamá aguantando tu cabeza mientras llorabas, tu amigo Nico al lado, pero no fuiste derrotado ni siquiera por ti mismo. 15 años después del año del crisol, un corazón de platino ha crecido en ti para derrotar a los arrogantes llenos de mierda, para despertar sin lágrimas más allá de la química mala y la peor usura. Now be ready for the firestorm. I dare remember when those signs end and the horror begin. And the subcontractor threatened, I'm going to change the process no matter what you said. I warned my boss about the weird behavior of the reaction, but no help came around. And my memo was ignored in his cabinet, and yet the 2,000-gallon stainless steel reactor blew up early morning in Ohio, a goddamn rocket that smashed buildings, a chemical cloud that burned and killed an innocent operator. With the depression slowly devouring each of my neurons, boss said, you're just a walking fraud. She's afraid of my poetry, I think. You're just a walking fraud. Didn't it feel good to be fired? To watch how everything you own had dropped by the wayside? Suddenly, I became the star witness and faced hours and hours of depositions with Cyclops in search of the elusive truth in health. And slowly, my consciousness got flooded with sleepless nightmares, thought of religious crusades and poems of beautiful rage. Remember the fearful flights to the Caribbean to recover the pieces of my sanity. My mother holding my head while I cry, my friend Nico by my side. But I was not defeated, not even by myself. 15 years since the crucible, a heart of platinum has grown in me to vanquish the arrogant, full of bullshit, to finally wake up with no tears, beyond biochemistry and worse, greed. Thank you very much.
If I had been doing poetry and a child had started making noise, I would have been like, and I'm done. And the, and the fact that you were able to keep going is a testament to how brave and brilliant you are. So thank you. Side note, I was sitting next to my friend Chrissy here, and after he had done the Spanish version of his poem, she leans over and she goes, I think I got 3 words. And that's... so the next beautiful musician that we have for you this evening, her name is Amanda Gold, and when she auditioned, I was so excited because she is freaking awesome, and I wear my emotions on my face. And so after she had left and I'm looking at Lauren and Shawna, I'm like, oh my God, she's the best thing ever. I have to tell everyone. And I ran out to the bar and I start telling the bartender how brilliant and wonderful Amanda is. There is a second story in the bar. And so I'm like, oh my God, she could be like the mascot of This Is My Brave. And then I hear, I'm up here. And I'm like, good talk. We'll call you and let you know whether or not you've been cast. And I love her. She will be doing a song this evening titled Stop. Give her a hand. And while she's doing this, when she stands up, fully appreciate the grandeur that are her sparkly tights. Yeah.
Hello. I have a head rush now. I don't know what microphone to use. I guess this one. Hey. Okay. I'm going to play a song that I initially wrote to myself. At the time, I was a homeless heroin addict and alcoholic. I sang downtown for spare change. My guitar was falling apart, and so was I. I'd been depressed and suicidal since the 5th grade, horribly insecure, sad, and terrified for as long as I can remember. I had been in and out of therapy, each new expert labeling me with an ever more dismal diagnosis. Sometimes they medicated me into a stupor, and once I was hospitalized for 2 weeks at the age of 14. At 15, I ran away from home to escape various forms of abuse and neglect. I was also running from myself. I sickened myself, believing I was a broken waste of space. I mourned my inability to just be normal. So when I found drugs and alcohol, I embraced them completely. Here was relief, oblivion, belonging, and freedom in a bottle, in a pill, in a needle, in a rolled up dollar bill. I used as much as possible, as often as possible. From the very beginning, I had no control. But I was very easily duped into believing I'd found an answer. I didn't have it in me to commit suicide, although I desperately wanted out. I didn't know how to find help for all the pain that I was in. So I let drugs and alcohol have their way with me. Sometimes they felt like salvation, but I knew deep down it was a lie. And if one day I happened to overdo it and die, well, that would be okay. Oh, I suspected I was beyond repair. I trudged through a bleak, depressing life, and in the despair I seemed to have been born with grew quickly into a hulking, uncontrollable thing. I used more and more until those solutions almost destroyed me. Every time I woke up from another night of partying, from another blackout, or the occasional overdose, I felt a confusing and exasperating mix of relief and resentment. After 16 years of this, I finally found help. I was finally beaten down enough to hear a still, small voice that said, "Stop, that's enough now, come alive." I wrote this song when I was so desperately lonely I felt inhuman. I'd completely lost my way, and I did not know how to get better. I wished I had someone to encourage me, to believe in me, but I only had myself at that point. And so I sang to myself, from a teeny, tiny little part of me that believed I might be worth saving. I barely believed that, but I kept holding on, and I'm profoundly grateful that I did, because today I sing this song from the other side. I'm over 2 years sober. Thank you. I'm also unmedicated, surprisingly, and I'm so deeply happy most days it feels unreal. If you take only one thing from me today, I hope it's this. There is a deep, burning fire inside every single one of us. Even if sometimes we may feel so wounded, we fear there's no possible way to recover. But know this, know it in that tender, innocent, perfect part of you. That fire never goes out. It lives in a part that is always safe and waits with infinite strength and patience. And it will light you up with a shine that can blind the world. So grab whatever shred of hope you can, hold it with a fierceness, and you must believe you'll make it through. I hope all this works. This is called the Stop Song. Yeah, it is. You're far too young to be feeling this bad, baby. And you're much too young to really believe that you'll always be alone. Hey, I know it's hard to move sometimes, but let alone keep walking on this long and lonely road. But you gotta stop, put down the fear and let yourself sleep, or let your head clear. Tell yourself it's gonna be okay if you can make it through to another day. Oh, stop and put down the fear, just let yourself sleep, let your head clear. And tell yourself it's gonna be okay, cause you can make it through to another day. Well, you think that no one cares, but we're all so worried for you. And you're wrestling with demons, but it's stuff that we've all been through. And there's a light at the end, whether you believe it or not. You better hang on to your faith, girl, cause sometimes that's all we've got. And you gotta stop, put down the fear, oh, let yourself sleep, just let your head clear. Tell yourself it's gonna be okay, cause you can make it through to another day. Oh, stop and put down the fear, just let yourself sleep, oh, let your head clear. Tell yourself it's gonna be okay, cause you can make it through to another day. When the weight of it all won't get off your chest and the bad dreams stay in your head, don't feel at home no matter where you go, you're not safe even in your own bed. But when you feel too scared to walk down the street, when you feel afraid of the people you meet, sometimes you gotta fight your way out of your own head. Oh, fight yourself and try something new instead, and stop, put down the fear, just let yourself sleep, let your head clear. Tell yourself it's gonna be okay, cause you can make it through to another day. Oh, stop and put down the fear, just let yourself sleep, or let your head clear. Tell yourself it's gonna be okay, cause you can make it through to another day. Thank you.
You're so cool. I aspire to be that cool someday. I have a long, long way to go. So great. And I dare you to get that song out of your head, by the way. we have come to our final storyteller of the evening. I know, yay and oh. And this woman is fucking phenomenal. I actually went to a show back in May, and unbeknownst to me, it was the same week as we did This Is My Brave. They were sharing mental health stories and stories of recovery. And Debbie Shear was there, and she told this story, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I want to be her. I'm going to become her biggest fan right now. And I like aggressively approached her afterwards. I'm like, hello, my name is Kat Atwell, and I think you're fantastic, and I really love your story, and I related with everything, and she still talks to me, which is fantastic. She's got a wicked sense of humor and a vulnerability that I think is unmatched, and I can't wait for you to hear more from Debbie, so please, big round of applause.
Lip gloss in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Both are true. It's lip gloss in there. I'm thrilled that you're here. I just need, this feels unsettling. I'm not sure why. Okay. I can't take this off the stand, or may I? Freedom. Oh, thank you. Oh, I was worried about that the entire time. It's a lot of energy, a lot of GI distress for nothing. So let's get this party started. Okay. All right. I have these amazing skills, like really awesome, and I don't want to brag too much. But if I could figure out a way to transfer these skills into a powerful resume, I would land the most perfect job for me. Let me share with you some of these skills. I can walk into any environment, convention center, airport, restaurant, concert venue, IKEA, and within seconds I know where every single bathroom is. Thank you, IBS. And every single exit, because you always need an escape plan. I can travel down the rabbit hole faster than any rabbit you've ever seen, and I can stay there and set up camp and really, truly overstay my welcome. I can create scenarios in my head, images that are so dark, so intense, and so very frightening, Stephen King would be jealous. I know, it's totally impressive. And many of you might also be familiar with these skills if you live with anxiety. Intense wind. I lie awake for hours on end, convinced that the trees in my front yard will come crashing through the roof and kill my children. And when I say hours, I mean sometimes 4 to 6. Concerts, too loud, too crowded, too much stimulus for me to actually relax and enjoy. Outdoor venues are always preferred as they seem easier to exit in case of an emergency. Relationships. Well, people seem to love the adorable quirks that come along with anxiety, until they don't. Going out. I often have the desire, I will even shower and get ready, and then I find myself with my hand on the garage door, and I just can't do it. Because the thought of having to drive downtown and deal with the crowds and find parking and then be in a crowded space or a loud restaurant is overwhelming. So I find myself in my pajamas, in bed, watching documentaries and thinking about how much fun everyone else must be having. I love documentaries, by the way. Like, really love them. Language, it's so powerful, and it can help or harm equally. The language we use when we discuss illness is so opposite, depending upon whether or not we are discussing something physical, like cancer, or something that we can't see, like mental illness. Cancer is horrific, so we all agree on that. However, let's explore the way we talk about people who have cancer versus people who have a mental illness. It's no joke that if we can see the effects of something, like chemo, we are more likely to sympathize with it. So some of the cancer language, you are so brave. what a fighter they are. And if they didn't survive their battle with cancer, we say, wow, they put up such a fight. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't talk like this, but let's compare this to how we talk to and about people with mental illness. Two words that we often hear, and I'm raising my hand, and I'm not proud, I've used these words many times, should and just. Eating disorder? You should just eat a burger. What the hell? Just have ice cream after dinner every night. Oh man, I wish I had an eating disorder. It would help me keep my weight down. Or just stop eating. You're not even hungry. Just stop. Depression. Dude, just go for a walk. It's like beautiful outside. Are you kidding me? All you need is some fresh air and sunshine. Oh my gosh, you know what you should do? You should totally quit caffeine, gluten, dairy. You should quit soy, sugar, alcohol. What else is there? We're gonna just, I don't know, almond milk. Quit that too. That'll help for sure. Anxiety. Wait a minute. You're telling me that you really think that a tree will crash through your house and kill your children. Just stop thinking those thoughts. They're never going to happen. Insert thoughts about tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, movie theater shootings, school shootings, mall shootings, and Donald Trump. We can talk about that after the show. Oh my gosh, you know what you should do? You should drink lavender tea. That'll help. Anxiety is joked about so much in our society that it's become the decaf coffee of mental illness. Almost every romantic comedy has one character who's frenetic and worrisome and rushing about, feeling out of control, and they probably have anxiety. But we make them a mockery, and we laugh along with them, and that, along with every awful anxiety-related meme, cheapens the diagnosis. Because here's the thing about mental illness. Challenges, our stuff, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter if you're stuck in your head because you have bipolar, or because you have depression, or because you have anxiety. The thing that matters is that you're stuck in your head and you can't get out. And this is why I choose to share my story about living with anxiety. Yes, it's true, I do in fact joke about my story and my bumps and bruises along the way. And while some believe that we cheapen our conversations about mental illness when we try to add humor to the dialogue, I passionately disagree. I believe so strongly that when we infuse our conversations with a little bit more humor, we actually elevate the human experience, which allows us to embrace the entire human experience. This in turn changes the way we view mental illness, and that is what we can all agree needs to happen. We need to change the way we talk about mental illness in order to end the stigma that surrounds mental illness. So thank you for allowing me to share, and please let's all agree to continue this conversation.
Is definitely taller than I am. Thank you all very much for being here tonight. It's an important event, what we're witnessing tonight. It's also a heavy event, so a couple of things. Talk with people around you who've seen this show with you, who love you and care about you. Talk through the emotions, talk through the thoughts, talk through the parts that you don't like about how you're responding to these stories. And remember the faces of these people and the laughter and the camaraderie, and just keep talking when you leave here to each other, to those you care about, and open up that dialogue. It's very, very important. We just want to say thank you for being brave with us.
But I wonder what would happen if you say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out honestly.